Hey, what's up? It's Ronnie Rose. Things have been going better than they usually are, and I thought it was time to give something back to the community. Um, in order to do that, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a book review on The Richest Man in Babylon. So, The Richest Man in Babylon was named Arcad, and the story is actually it's a really good book and it's a really good story. But Arcad started off as an average guy. He was a scribe, and he came in contact with a lender, which would be the equivalent of a bank owner at the time. And the bank owner needed a law written down, and this is way before printers, so he'd have to write it down. He knew he wasn't going to meet the timeline, so he said, "Well, it's not going to be written in that time, but I tell you what, if you give me the rules on how to become rich, I'll do whatever I have to do to have this law written in time." And he said, "Deal." So the next day he pulled up and says, "Here's a law. I need to know how to become rich." And he says, "Great, I'll give you the answer." So the first thing you got to do, Arcad, is you got to understand that 1/10 of everything you earn is yours to keep. And he's like, "What does that even mean? I make, let's say, in that time, let's say you made $500 a week." So he thought $500 belonged to him, but that's not the case. You got rent, you got taxes, bills, and all these other things. But in order to save money, you have to you have to you have to pay yourself first. So 1/10 of that needs to go into your savings in one way or the other. Um, in the military, you can do TSP and any other thing. You just put in a savings account for I don't know. Not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what the book says. But anyways, 1/10 of everything you earn is yours to keep. And he's telling this story later on to another person about the story of his life. So, he grows up and becomes really rich because of what I'm about to tell you. But he is giving all of these points to the king and his council. And one guy raises his hand and says, "How can I save money if I already don't make enough money to pay the bills that I have now?" And he says, "You got to cut back on expenditures. You got to cut back. Everybody thinks that once you get a raise, that's just more money to spend. But most of the time, if someone gets a raise, somehow that money eventually finds its way into other areas. You don't even see a difference in life. So it just goes over your head. So it takes a lot of self wow it's a lot of self-control. Sorry, it takes a lot of self-control to do this, but you have to do it in order to be successful. So you have to pay yourself first. Um, and then he talks about building wealth with money, and he explains gold as he calls it gold slaves. And gold slaves are more willing to work than anybody. They're willing to work to create more gold slaves. So what he's trying to say is money needs to be used to make more money. You need to invest your money in whatever way makes you comfortable, that you spend a lot of time researching on, and then when you get the answer, you go for it. Whether it be real estate, a business, or something, I don't know. So anyways, Babylon's doing really good, and they start to go bankrupt. But the king just gave a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of workers, but the work was done, so no one didn't have any money. He's like, "Where's all this money going?" And then, his council spoke to him, and he said, it all belongs to a few individuals that know how to make money. Everybody else is poor." And he said, "Bring me the richest man." So Arcad came in front of him, and he said, "Arcad, I'd really appreciate it if you taught us, the ways of money, how to be rich." And he said, "I'd love to work for you. I'd love to show you these things." So in order to meet the king's desires, he gave what the bank lender in the beginning told him how to be rich. He gave him the seven cures for a lean purse. So the seven cures are as follows, and from what I understood, there is no importance to least importance. They're all pretty important, so it's more like bullets. But the first one is start thy purse to fatten. So you got to build wealth where you are now. When you have a job, you need to make sure that you are getting as much out of it as you possibly can, and making sure that your time is spent as wisely as possible. So you have to, that's that. So the second one is control expenditures. You have to set a budget, and you have to stick to it. If you don't stick to a budget, what's the purpose of a budget? And I'm guilty of this myself. So You have to
But
set a budget. And the third one is make that gold multiply. So this is goes right back to, the gold slaves. You have to find something um, that will create some kind of income without your time being involved. You have to make it multiply. Uh, Guard your treasures from loss. One of his stories is he starts off and he decides in his early years of deciding to become rich that he went to a bricklayer or brickmaker and he said, "Hey, I want to be rich. Blah blah blah. I got to find some investments." And this guy says, "Okay, I tell you what. I know a city down the road that you can get really precious gems, jewels, and stones and all this stuff." And you can come back over here and you can sell it for way cheaper. And he's like, I like that idea. So he gave him a whole bunch of money, and this guy was a brickmaker. He didn't know anything about jewels or gems, and he ended up buying a whole bunch of shiny glass. He didn't know the difference. And we're all guilty of it. I can tell you, um, there it happens more than you would think. A lot of people think that they have any kind of knowledge in a certain area, and they don't really know anything. They want to think they know something, and they really don't. An example from me would be one time I had a good friend try and tell me how to run my real estate business. He doesn't own real estate. He doesn't own a house. He doesn't own rental property. He hasn't gone through a real estate course. The only thing he's done is take a college course on you know on real estate. That's not enough to change my views, especially when I'm reading, 3-4 books a week on real estate, and I'm going to seminars and everything else. So I'm actually creating a war with a multitude of counsel of the area of people that I want to follow. Think about how many times you've been hanging out with a friend and you say, "Oh, I'm gonna do something," and then they heard something somewhere and they're trying to give you advice, but they don't know anything. So listen to the right people, and you have to guard your treasure from loss. You have to do that. The next place is make dwelling a profitable investment. So what that's saying is simply buy a house. If you're renting, you're throwing your money away. His idea was, buying or creating a house at first is going to cost a lot of money, but once you pay it off, the only thing you have to do is pay the king's taxes. Now things a little more advanced than the days of Babylon, but you're going to have water, sewage, electricity, cable, and taxes, of course. But it's definitely going to be a lot better than just paying a mortgage, and worse, paying a rent. Please don't tell my renters this, because I can't screw myself. But nonetheless, find a way to buy a house. The next piece is to ensure a future income. You have to find other ways of income. You have to do it. You have to create an income for days to come. The final one, and to me it's the most important, is to increase the ability to learn. So no matter where you're at, actually the story in the book was there's a guy that has a job and he keeps asking his boss to give him a raise, and he's not going to do it. And the boss finally says, "Why should I give you a raise? You haven't made your value anymore. Once you create a higher value, I'll give you a higher paycheck." Just goes with anything. You want to make more money, you have to be more valuable. The sense of entitlement right now is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if you want to make more money, you have to create more value. You have to bring more money to the marketplace. You have to do something. You have to earn it. And once you do that, you'll be more profitable. So anyways, I just want to give you the intro to this book. I think that was like the first maybe 60, 70 pages. If you like it, repost it. Hopefully, you've been able to get something out of it. Maybe some of your friends can get something out of it. And at worst case scenario, just give me some critique points on what you thought about it. So, and if you guys want to hear the rest of the book, let me know, and I'll do the rest of the book. So, all right, cool.